Hey bio students, this is Praful Sharma, biology lecturer, TUP School, Amet. Today we are going to sum up chapter 5, Morphology of Flowering Plants, NCERT book, class 11th. The wide range in the structure of higher plants will never fail to fascinate us. It's obvious that the angiosperms shows such a large diversity in external structure, or we can say morphology. They are all characterized by presence of roots, stems, leaves, flowers and fruits. In previous chapters, we talked about classification of plants based on morphological and other characteristics. But for any successful attempt at classification, we need to know standard technical terms and standard definitions. We also need to know about the possible variations in different parts found as adaptations of the plants to their environment. Here in this session, you are going to encounter with the subheadings: the root, regions of the root, modifications of root, the stem, modification of stem, the leaf, leaf venation, types of leaves, phyllotaxy, modification of leaves, the inflorescence, the flower, flower symmetry, types of flowers, parts of a flower, estivation and placentation in detail. We are going to start with the root first. In majority of the dicot plants, the direct elongation of the radicle leads to the formation of primary root, which grows inside the soil. In different types of plants, roots are of different type, or we can say there are different types of root system. In most of the dicot plant, the root system is named as tap root system, which originates from radicle. In monocot plants like wheat, paddy, grasses, the root system is fibrous and it originates from the base of the stem. And in some of the plants, some specialized structures which are originated from part of the plant other than radicle is known as adventitious root system is developed. Tap root system includes the formation of a primary root which grows down the soil. This bears lateral roots of several orders that are referred to as secondary, tertiary, etc. roots. The primary root and its branches constitute the tap root system, as you can see in case of dicot plants. In monocot plants, the primary root is short-lived and is replaced by a large number of rootlets. These roots originate from the base of the stem and constitute the fibrous root system. In some plants like grass, monstera and banyan tree, root arises from parts of the plant other than the radicle and are called adventitious roots. The main function of the root system are absorption of water and mineral from the soil. They also provides a proper anchorage to the plant parts, storing reserve food material and synthesis of plant growth regulators. Here comes the next topic, regions of the root. The root is covered at the apex by a thimble-like structure called the root cap. It protects the tender apex of the root as it makes its way through the soil. A few millimeters above the root cap is the region of meristematic activity. The cells of this region are very small, thin-walled and with dense protoplasm. They divide rapidly. The cells proximal to this region undergo rapid elongation and enlargement and are responsible for the growth of the root in length. This region is called the region of elongation. The cells of the elongation zone gradually differentiates and becomes mature. Hence, this zone proximal to region of elongation is called the region of maturation. From the region, some of the epidermal cells forms very fine and delicate thread-like structures called root hairs. These root hairs absorbs water and minerals from the soil. Roots in some plants change their shape and structure and become modified to perform functions other than absorption and conduction of water and minerals. They are modified for support, storage of food, and respiration. Have you ever wondered what those hanging structures that support a banyan tree are? These are prop roots. Similarly, the stems of maize and sugarcane have supporting roots coming out of the lower nodes of the stem. These are called the stilt roots. In some plants, such as Rhizophora, growing in swampy areas, many roots come out of the ground and grow vertically upward. Such roots called pneumatophores, and they help to get oxygen for respiration. Tap roots of carrot, turnip, and adventitious root of sweet potato get swollen and store food. Let us talk about the stem. What are the features that distinguish a stem from a root? The stem is the ascending part of the axis bearing branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits. It develops from the plumule of the embryo, and the stem bears nodes and internodes. The region of the stem where leaves are born are called nodes, while internodes are the portions between two nodes. As you know that the main function of stem is spreading out branches bearing leaves, flowers, and fruits, it conducts water, minerals, and photosynthesis. Some stems perform the function of storage of food, support, protection, and of vegetative propagation. So let's talk about the modifications of a stem. Stems may not always be typically like what they are expected to be. They are modified to perform different functions. Underground stem of potato, ginger, turmeric, zamikand, colocasia are modified to store food in them. They also act as an organ of perennation to tide over conditions unfavorable for growth. Stem tendrils, which develop from axillary buds, are slender and spirally coiled and help plants to climb, such as in gourds like cucumber, pumpkins, watermelon. Axillary buds of stems may also get modified into woody, straight, and pointed thorns. Thorns are found in many plants such as citrus or bougainvillea. They protect plants from browsing animals. Some plants of arid region modify their stems into flattened or fleshy cylindrical structures. They contain chlorophyll and carry out photosynthesis. Here comes the leaf of a plant. The leaf is a lateral, generally flattened structure borne on the stem. It develops at the node and bears a bud in its axil. The axillary bud later develops into a branch. Leaves originate from shoot apical meristem and are arranged in an acropetal order. They are the most important vegetative organ for photosynthesis. A typical leaf consists of three main parts: leaf base, petiole, and lamina. The leaf is attached to the stem by the leaf base, and it may bear two lateral small leaf-like structures called stipules. The lamina or the leaf blade is the green expanded part of the leaf with veins and vinelets. There is usually a middle prominent vein which is known as the midrib. Veins provide rigidity to the leaf blade and acts as channels of transport for water, minerals, and food materials. The arrangement of veins and vinelets in their lamina of leaf is termed as venation. When the vinelets forms a network, the venation is termed as reticulate. When the veins run parallel to each other within a lamina, the venation is termed as parallel. Leaves of dicot plants generally possesses reticulate venation, while parallel venation is a characteristic feature of most of the monocotyledon plants. Here comes the types of leaves. A leaf is said to be simple when its lamina is entire or when incised, the incision do not touch the midrib. When the incisions of lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets, the leaf is called compound. A bud is present in the axil of petiole in both simple and compound leaves, but not in the axil of leaflets of the compound leaf. The compound leaves may be of two types. In a pinnately compound leaf, a number of leaflets are present on a common axis, the rachis, which represents the midrib of leaf as in neem plant. In palmately compound leaves, the leaflets are attached at a common point, that means at the tip of petiole, as in silk cotton. Our next topic is phyllotaxy, that means the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem. This is usually of three types: alternate, opposite and whorled. In alternate type of phyllotaxy, a single leaf arises at each node in alternate manner, as in China rose, mustard and sunflower, you can see that. In opposite type, a pair of leaves arise at each node and lie opposite to each other, as in Calotropis and guava plants. If more than two leaves arises at a node and forms a whorl, it is called whorled phyllotaxy, as in case of Alstonia. And leaves are also modified to perform functions other than photosynthesis. They are converted into tendrils for climbing, as in pea, or into spines for defense, etc. Here comes the next topic, the inflorescence. The arrangement of flowers on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence. Depending on whether the apex gets developed into a flower or continues to grow, two major types of inflorescence are defined: racemose and cymose. In racemose type of inflorescence, the main axis continues to grow. The flowers are borne laterally in an acropetal succession. In cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis terminates in a flower, hence is limited in growth. The flowers are borne in a basipetal order. What is a flower? The flower is the reproductive unit in the angiospermic plants. It is meant for sexual reproduction. A typical flower has 4 different kinds of whorls arranged successively on the swollen end of the pedicel, called thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are accessory organs, while androecium and gynoecium are reproductive organs. In some flowers like lily, the calyx and corolla are not distinct and are termed as perianth. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is bisexual. A flower having either only stamen or only carpels is unisexual. In symmetry, the flower may be actinomorphic, or we can say radially symmetrical, or zygomorphic, that means bilaterally symmetrical. When a flower can be divided into 2 equal radial halves in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be actinomorphic. You can see that in case of mustard, dhatura, chili. And when it can be divided into 2 similar halves only in one particular vertical plane, it is zygomorphic. That you can see in case of pea flowers, gulmohar, bean, cassia, etc. A flower is asymmetric or irregular if it cannot be divided into 2 similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center, as in case of canna. A flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, or pentamerous when the flower appendages are in multiple of 3, 4, or 5 respectively. Flowers with bracts, or we can say the reduced leaf-like structure, which are found at the base of pedicel, are called bracteate, and those without bracts are called ebracteate. Based on the position of calyx, corolla, and androecium in respect of the ovary on thalamus, the flowers are described as hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. In the hypogynous flower, the gynoecium occupies the highest position, while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary in such flower is said to be superior. Say for example mustard, China rose, brinjal. If gynoecium is situated in the center and other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus almost at the same level, it is called perigynous. The ovary here is said to be half superior, half inferior. That you can see in case of plum, rose, peach, etc. In epigynous flower, the margin of thalamus grows upward, enclosing the ovary completely and getting fused with it. The other parts of flower arises above the ovary. Hence, the ovary is said to be inferior, as in flowers of guava and cucumber, and the ray florets of sunflower. Each flower normally has 4 flower whorls: calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. The calyx is the outermost whorl of the flower, and the members are called sepals. Generally, sepals are green, leaf-like, and protect the flower in the bud stage. The calyx may be gamosepalous, means the sepals are united, or polysepalous, means the sepals are free. Corolla is composed of petals. Petals are usually brightly colored to attract insects for pollination. Like calyx, corolla may also be gamopetalous, that means the petals are united, or polypetalous, that means the petals are free. Estivation simply means the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals in flower bud with respect to the other members of the same whorl is known as estivation. The main type of estivation are valvate, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary. When sepals or petals in a whorl just touch one another at the margin without overlapping, as in case of Calotropis, it is said to be valvate estivation, arrangement of sepals and petals. If one margin of the appendage overlaps that of the next one, and so on, as in China rose, ladyfinger, and cotton, it is called twisted estivation. If the margins of sepal or petals overlap one another but not in any particular direction, as in case of cassia and gulmohar, the estivation is called imbricate. In pea and bean flowers, there are 5 petals. The largest standard petal overlaps the 2 lateral petals, which are called wings, which in turn overlap the 2 smallest anterior petals, which are called keel. This type of estivation is known as vexillary estivation. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. The placentation are of different types, namely marginal, axile, parietal, basal, and central, and free central. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary, and the ovules are born on this ridge, forming 2 rows as in P. When the placenta is axile and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary, the placentation is said to be axile, as in China rose, tomato, and lemon. In parietal placentation, the ovules develop on the inner wall of ovary or on peripheral part. Ovary is one-chambered, but it becomes two-chambered due to formation of a false septum, and this can be seen in case of mustard and agrimony. When the ovules are born on central axis and septa are absent, as in dianthus and primrose, the placentation is called free central. In basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of ovary and a single ovule is attached to it, as in case of sunflower and marigold. For successful attempt at classification and at understanding any higher plant, now we knew standard technical terms and standard definitions, which will help us to understand the morphology of flowering plants and their classification. Here we are done with this session. Have a great time.